you know, it is an extremely humbling experience to be standing at your alma mater and have an opportunity to speak to the audience right after a professor like Professor Sheshadri. So, I'm very, very excited about this. As you know, this Make in India was an initiative that was launched by Prime Minister Narendra Modi on 24th of September. And the basic goal for this particular, the basic goal for this initiative was to rebrand India into a manufacturing hub and thereby, boost economic growth and job creation. This Make in India program identifies around 25 sectors, but this particular presentation is to give you a quick overview on 5 such sectors, which, something that I understand a little bit, and this hopefully would be a good segue into the question and answers that we have with the panel after that. There are, the sectors that we would be working on are automotive components, aviation, defense, and electrical machinery. When we come to the automotive industry, today we are the 7th largest, and by the year 2000, by the end of this year, we are pegged to be the 4th largest producers of cars. It is a significant percentage of our GDP, but when you go and look at the export figure, as what Professor Seshadri was mentioning, we are an abysmal 1%. So the amount of cars, forget about Indian companies, we would be very happy if it's Indian companies, but not even many foreign players are setting up enough shops. And with this whole initiative, we hope, and I'm pretty much quite excited about the prospects of a lot of these companies having a lot more manufacturing facilities in India. The next area is the auto components industry, and as a budding entrepreneur, I think this is an exciting area for anybody who wants to get into the manufacturing space. We are, not the 4th, but the 3rd largest steel producer, because we overtook some, very recently. We have geographic proximity to not only the automotive manufacturers in India, but also in ASEAN, Korea, and Japan. There is cost competitiveness that we had, but it's been fast eroding as, we are not as efficient, and that's an area which I personally believe that we need to reinvent ourselves, and, Professor today reinforced that belief of mine. But if we look at the statistics, again, we are not doing much better. Okay, we don't make cars, but are we exporting enough components? Are we, plugged into the supply chain? And that's again, the figure shows 1%. And this is an area where, one could make serious headway and start a unit, or, somehow be connected with the auto components industry. The electrical machinery, just talk about 2 basic parts of it. One is, we all need power, and the need for power is only going to increase. The transmission industry and the power generation industry are both going to increase at least by 3 to 4-fold by the year 2022. And this itself presents a very large opportunity for all entrepreneurs, and how we could work on this. And just to add another point, there are export incentives which are available not only in electrical machinery but even other industries like focused market and focused product, to make you more competitive and offset some of the extra taxes that you're paying, because you're paying in India, to make you more competitive in the global space. The aviation industry, we do not manufacture much. Even the components, we are very, very low. We do not have, again, a lot of parts. We don't even supply enough components, parts, and sub-assemblies to the world. And with the offset policy, where all the large manufacturers are mandated to spend a certain percentage or buy a certain percentage from India if they are supposed to supply to the Indian government. That's one area where we could benefit from. Now, coming to defense, defense, we are a very large armed forces, third largest in the world. And today, nearly 60% of our total requirement we are importing. And the offset policy is extremely strong in this space. And companies, have to go as high as 30% in terms of the components they procure. They have to do it from India if they need to get the Indian, defense contract. So that is a very powerful tool in the hands of us to be able to, get some business interaction from the companies in this space. Airbus, BAE India Systems, Pilatus, Lockheed Martin, and others. So, with this, I would like Mr. Narsi Reddy, who is our panel convener, to kind of, take us to the next phase of this discussion.
So before we go into the panel discussion, I just want to maybe set the stage is going into the Make in India concept. And I see, right, a lot of people getting confused. Are we talking about the Make in India or manufacturing in India? Right? Make in India is entirely different, right? I don't know what our Prime Minister has it in mind. But I see, right, there is a huge disconnect from what we have been and what we are and what we are going to be. Right? We have done a pretty good job on the service industry. Then after that, right, we have been doing the service. We felt like that's easy to get into, and you could do a break-even analysis in a month or two or a year, and you can start any body shopping or a service company and go ahead and do it. But my meaning of Make in India, right, it doesn't mean to be only a manufacturing. You could make anything in India, right? Why? There's a question, if you go and talk about manufacturing, there's a lot of challenges, right? Because our constitution is different, we are the different people, we are different, a lot of other issues, political issues like land availability, the power availability, a lot of things, right? When our government has to satisfy the people below poverty line, there are a lot of things. But we need to ask ourselves, right, why we couldn't create a single Facebook, say a single Google, a single Microsoft? These are all also Make in India, part of Make in India, right? We couldn't do it. Right? We didn't never thought of a company, like a product company. Because a product company, right, needs a lot more than having a few guys sitting in a room and trying to do a product, trying to fill a contract and get the billing in the end of the month. But the product company, right, needs a lot of other things, as the professor already set the stage, it needs the right management, right direction, right strategy, right global partners. And today, right, the world has already progressed. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. But at least, right, we need to be good at copying the things, getting it done from the India. You have to take a pride, right? Why can't we manufacture, why can't we even design a phone in India? We have so many brands. If you have to name top 4 brands in India, we have to say any top 4 brands. All top 4 comes from either western part or a China or a other country, or a Korea. You don't have it. For that you don't need a manufacturing. It's basically you need a right team, a right product company, right, as I said, right design, right marketing, right product strategy. That's it, right? And that's where the whole money is actually. And at the end of the day, right, the manufacturing, when you take it, it's if you go to any manufacturing company in China also, you talk to the ODMs, they say that the profit margins are 2%, 3%. But of course, that creates a lot of employment. If you spend a $1 there, but as he said, there is a $1.5 extra is going to come as the add-on. Yeah, the add-on to the GDP, or what on the extra job creation, all those things. But if you look at Apple, right, they don't manufacture anything, but they look at their market caps, right? So I think before going into the I'll set the stage towards what are the difficulties. But we should think about why can't we make a Microsoft out of India, right? What is the big deal, right? If you look at half of the Microsoft employees are Indians, and what can't we build a Google? Can't we build a Facebook? The China has done it. Always we talk about China in terms of the manufacturing, but China banned the Facebook. China banned the Google. Right? They have their own social networking platforms, and they're able to do it. they're able to like, yeah, say that what the damn, like today, right, we cannot live without Google, but China is living without Google. You are forced to forward your email to something else when you travel to China, right? So we are missing a lot of other things. Like, I think we are overhyping on the, so I think my understanding of when our Prime Minister said make in India, it's not the manufacturing in India. I think it's a lot more to the, than the manufacturing. Of course, we should get into the manufacturing, but before that, right, like there are a lot of difficulties. Like, no, we cannot blame, right? Our demographics are different, or like, see, because there's no other country has these many religions, these many castes, these many languages. Even I cannot talk to a Tamilian, my neighboring state, in the same language. I had to go back and talk in English, right? Or Hindi. Of course, because South Indians, we don't talk that much Hindi. So we have a lot more other issues. It's very, very tough to, as I said, the supply chain, the connect, it takes time because everybody, right, the way I believe our ancient, right, we build it as independent, like as a small guys. Every village is self-sustained, whatever the region, right, whatever the kingdoms are self-sustained. We come from that, our genetics are maybe like that. But we have a lot of intuitive mind, we have a lot of the intelligent mind, we're pretty good at analytics. So with that, right, I believe, right, I think the next generation should concentrate more on the building the companies, building the product companies. Do anything from make in India. Like, it doesn't mean manufacturing. But having said that, right, I just want to set the stage towards the panelists. Yeah, I think some of the panelists, right, they come from the hardcore, the manufacturing industry. Like some of them, right, Amara's batteries, they have been in the industry for last, like maybe 20, 25 years, more than that maybe. Yeah, then there's Akash, he does the farm manufacturing. So I just want to like share their experiences and difficulties, what they're seeing, what their challenges, to really like what they're going through, why they cannot scale it to the global players, why like it has to be in their own territory. So what are the I just want to set the stage towards the panelists, take it further. Maybe like I'll ask Akash to share the. Let's start here. Akash can like start with like you being in the you start making some like equipments for the farm, right? Because still, right, India, like 60% of the population depends on the agriculture. But that also, like, yeah, I don't see, like, it's just like, as Professor said, still it's like fragmented, right? Why we are not able to like kind of think globally, and what are the difficulties in your industry? Just share your thoughts.
So, I think Professor mentioned in his keynote, there are two major things that if players in this space, in the farm equipment space, are able to do, they can compete with the best in class. And the most important is we'll have to leapfrog, because the technology which was used for a particular crop in the US in 1970s is the one which is applicable today in India, because the land, the tractor size and all of that. So it is very important for Indian companies to have the right partnerships with the countries which are ahead in farm equipment technology, and then spend significant amount of resources developing the product to suit the subcontinent requirements. So I think that's the way to go forward.
Going into that, right? Like, if you like, what is how is the capital availability for that kind of industry? So do you see like the capital is getting available easily?
I'll be extremely honest with you. The government is doing a very good job of making money available in the hands of the farmers, and the reason also is because it's their vote bank. So every 6-7 years there is a loan waiver scheme, so people take loans for farm equipment and then they decide not to pay it. So it helps the government or the people in power, but it also kind of gives money in the hands of the farmers.
No, but for you, right, as to set up an industry, whether the government is like not government, but what is how the capital is like? Like suppose if you want to like scale up your industry.
But not to, because I don't want to just talk about farm equipment space, but to give an anecdotal example, the Bihar government has offered 50% capital subsidy for anybody who wants to set up a manufacturing unit in Bihar. And it does not need to be hardcore manufacturing. You could be doing an apple there. You could be just sourcing components and assembling out of any place in Bihar, and they would provide you 50% capital subsidy and also give you tax break for a certain set of number of years. That's not something that is I recall at the top of my mind. Yeah.
Samaraj is one of the famous the batteries in India.
Difficult choice to present a contrarian point of view, but I thought sticking to the frame of the discussion also with some amount of conviction. Not because I've been in manufacturing, but probably looking at our overall social context. I appreciate the point that Narsi is making in terms of our ability, doing the soul searching about our ability or lack of it in trying to come up with one of those marquee companies in the service sector. But if just to pull back the discussion into an area, what we've started off saying that opportunities in the manufacturing, in the broader context of Make in India, and probably where Professor Seshadri left. Sometimes stating the obvious might actually help the situation. So I'm trying to probably summarize as to how as a company in manufacturing sector in India over the last in fact almost 30 years, how are we seeing this? Now if I do, there are just about 3-4 slides. I'm trying to anchor the discussion to reduce the verbosity behind it. If I can go to the next slide. Can I have the lights a little bit dim, please? I would see this Make in India as an overarching theme, and there are a lot of enabling things right underneath that. It could be GST at one level, it could be land reform bill at another, it could be the bureaucratic reforms, it could be e-governance, and a variety of things including clearances and whatnot. So if my key takeaway at this point in time is, and if I have to relate to my experience as a professional and as an entrepreneur in this company from the time we've started 30 years ago, I was probably in the first 5 employees of a group which currently boasts about 11,000 plus employees. There was a time where we used to write a letter to Government of India, and then if you do get one response in 6 months, you've been distinctly lucky. And there was times that we've gone to Delhi. There were days those in the license Raj talking about getting a letter of intent and then converting into industrial license used to take a very short time of 3 years. And sarcasm intended. Right. And today we are now saying that you can get an industrial license and directly valid for 3 years. Mind you, we've started off in a regime where we talked about having to revalidate your letter of intent based on the progress that you've achieved once in every 6 months, and they would not even respond in 6 months. So it's anybody's guess, depending on the starts, whether you would have that or you would not have that. So my single takeaway at this point in time is it can't get any worse. It can only get better. I understand that we don't have several things, but I think there are enough of companies in this country, and we are humbled about being one among them, even if in case we do not have what's called a scale that would be at the global level of revenues, but our manufacturing capacities today in the batteries that we have is actually one of the biggest in global scale. We have one of the plants that is Asia's biggest automotive manufacturing plant in one location. We have one of the top 5 global battery integrated manufacturing complexes. And we have started from very, very completely in counterproductive kind of license Raj. So I'm saying, if you were to broadly look at it, the Make in India is one of those big cogs in the wheel that the new government, and I have no political affiliations to reconfirm my stance, but they're only trying to say that we need to get going and we need to come into manufacturing. But at a social context, while I don't have the credentials to be the like economist or sociologist of repute, my belief is, having traveled across a lot of developing countries and into Africa several times over, apart from, of course, Southeast Asia, as a comparison for this discussion, I believe we will be heading down the days of civil unrest, anarchy, if we don't have employment opportunities for kind of millions of people who are joining the workforce. And any smart government, any government that is thinking far beyond their nose should have to create that to make sure that the law and order is in place. Other way around, we'll be in Africa and we'll have to have bodyguards to be walking out of even the best of the hotels after 6 o'clock in the evening in the major capital cities of the country. And I'm not exaggerating, this is my personal experience. So arising out of that, considering that today our GDP contribution from the manufacturing is so less and our scales are so less, manufacturing probably is an answer. And to also be self-reliant, considering that we will be the second most populated country for a long time to come, and then probably will become maybe one more than the first, with a lot less land mass and a lot less land resources to boot. So we have a serious problem on hand. So manufacturing has to be looked at to make sure that the GDP is in place, and more importantly, most of the people are staying employed. So arising out of that, and I look at this framework, this is just something that we've created in the last 1 week, just to understand what are these government policies, how as a company or a group of companies we are looking into it. So the other part, if there are entrepreneurs, either the budding or intending or the people who are in the first stage, this is something that I wanted to share. As you just look at it, the red color on the top is the one we are talking as a differentiation. So for the differentiation, you are doing those things that are marked red, which is the R&D, which is the marketing, and the customer support. If you were to be doing what is called a cost leadership game, probably this is our understanding, that you will do those things which are again in the red, where you will be looking at manufacturing being one among them. So I was thinking about it and say that manufacturing is all about a cost driver or is an enabler for your overall business or a product or a offering that you have to the customers. So if I were to look at that, this would be my understanding. There is a first classic decision that you will want to really take. Everything that Professor Seshadri has covered adequately, I don't need to repeat, and thanks to him for doing the honors in the beginning. There is a make versus buy decision that you need to make, and it does not mean that you will be prevented from getting into manufacturing. These are some of the pointers I think that would help to look at when do you get into. So those are the things that, these are my thoughts at the point in time, saying that if there is an IP to be protected and you are not very sure about the same, you will go into the manufacture. You will manufacture if your process is so unique that you don't trust with anybody else, and this is an enabler of your competitive advantage. There are a couple of words on the slide that I talked about: significance and competitive advantage. Significance of these statements for your respective businesses, and competitive advantage in your business vis-a-vis others. Manufacturing, is it a cost driver? There are some of the process industries where the conversion costs are far higher. There is no point in trying to just outsource at that point in time. For that, you will want to do that. You will want to enable that costs to be reduced, to be adding to your margins, to your ability to compete more effectively. If the product itself is a differentiator, the look and feel part of it, if you are not in control. Importantly, if there is no right scale for you to start with, you will want to look at and get started rather than getting discouraged saying that I'll not be able to compete at this point in time. Wait for the right scale to get started. Lastly, if you do think that you do not have any ecosystem around, we've started, most of these are applicable to us as an afterthought. As after jotting down these things, I started looking at the applicability for us for about 6 companies in our group over the last 25 years. Variety of these reasons have forced us to get into manufacturing. The horizontal integration, the backward integration, forward integration, a whole lot of it. We had to do because your suppliers are not of reputation, are not compellingly attractive enough in providing you a product with quality that's going into your overall product. So that's going to that's going to mar the product offering to the customers. So we had to do a lot of things. To date, it's not that we are known or we are averse to outsourcing. I'm talking about these things, we do outsource a lot. Where we think we will not be able to bring an advantage by having to set up a capex to do an also ran or just about the same level of product that anybody else in the system is already able to give it to us. So now summarizing this, and if I go back to the first thought that I've said, this is only to anchor the discussion further. I'm only looking at it. It can't definitely, it'll only get better. I don't want anybody from the prospective entrepreneurs to get discouraged saying that there are a lot of hindrances that will not allow you to get into manufacturing. It's not quite so. From the time that, from the anecdotal experiences that I was talking about, from the time that we are talking about having to file several reports in every month, to prospectively, there seemed to be definitely a silver lining. There seemed to be end of the tunnel for all the troubles. There seemed to be a way that we can actually enable manufacturing much more under a clarity of thought and with a sense of purpose, saying that we want at least a 25% contribution coming to manufacturing GDP by 2022. I think things only will get better. I'll probably wait to share any of the experiences with some of during the Q&A session post the panel discussion. Thank you.
I mean, I've been in India for a long time, so there's a cynical mindset and there's a forward-looking mindset. And I think it's very important to look at Make in India as a vision. And that vision gives optimism to a lot of us, because we all want to see this important leg of the GDP, the economy really kickstart. And I think there's tremendous potential. Mr. Amar Raja said it very eloquently. So I work for Axiom, and it's a global design and innovation company. I can tell you, as we sit here today, there are several multinationals doing research in India for products for Indian consumers. They are thinking about manufacturing in India. They are not thinking about the constraints that we are talking about. So there is tremendous headroom in this economy. Tremendous headroom, tremendous opportunity. In the note that was circulated before this talk, there are about 9 or 10 sectors that the government is thinking about for enabling this Make in India vision. Automotive, defense, aerospace, all of that. But there are areas like wellness. There are areas like design manufacturing, medical devices.
But the problem, right, what I'm trying to put it, so is it for a startup, it's for a big guy, right, the manufacturing?
Yeah, I think that is where I celebrate the fact that this conversation is being had in this forum here where TiE is involved, because that has been the historical challenge for people who start a manufacturing unit. There is always this trepidation, oh my God, I have to sign up with all these people. I need collateral to acquire capital. So if the investment community gets into this and they start looking at the benefits and the potential of, this very important pillar, I think all those barriers go away. So entrepreneurs need that kind of support, and it starts there. So I think there is a lot of optimism about that now.
So at the risk of sounding like a proponent of this whole Make in India, I think one thing which we need to realize that manufacturing, as you very rightly mentioned, is more capital intensive. But it's not like the first generation entrepreneurs are not in this space. But if you want to immediately evaluate it to the difficulty of starting a manufacturing concern versus an e-commerce or a app, then the difficulty in terms of raising funds is there. But there is enough example, and Professor Shishadri was talking about the negatives of it, that there are so many small players. So that just shows that it's not difficult to start, but the difficulty lies in gaining momentum and growing to a scale where you become relevant. And I think I would urge Safir and other people at TiE. There is a new fund which has been released in this budget called Self-Employment and Talent Utilization Fund, which is a 1,000
But
crores. Has
that's
been
all right.
earmarked.
If you look at the Professor Seshadri's presentation, also, that's the fundamental issue.
Natsi, I have a different audible. Yeah, Natsi, I have a different view. I don't think we should start complaining about the government, saying that there is this problem and there is this
No,
problem.
it's not go up. Just
Let
stick
me
away
just
up.
complete. So I don't think it's wise to keep complaining, because this is what everybody can do. What we need to understand is what is out there. What can I do given the situation? I think that's what takes a winner to kind of focus on what's available and what can I do with my set of skills. So speaking from the experience, when we talked about reaching to global scale and global levels, we started out as a small SSI in Balanagar making fan covers. Now today we supply parts to Daimler directly to Stuttgart, Germany. So this automotive component industry is heavily controlled from this. The entry barriers do exist. The entry barriers are the huge investments. Now, so how do small companies really get to that kind of markets? You have to look at the overall picture, QCD. So those are the areas that the customer really looks at, the quality, cost and delivery. Somewhere, if somebody is competitive on the cost, the other person has to be competitive on the quality and probably the delivery. Time to market is important. So if an entrepreneur can come up with a process where his time to market is much faster than a large company, and then he would kind of get an entry, and then he would break the entry barrier. So I think these are the kind of
I agree. Like suppose that's like the startup, right? Somebody is coming as an innovative idea. There's a new thing. Like this is like a lot of like Western also does it, right? There's innovative idea, something you want to do it. It's okay. But my way, right? I think like maybe the manufacturing industry kicks into India. If you say, I don't say like the import is not allowed. Like today, right? You don't have to renovate the wheel. You are importing so many things. Maybe except oil, you could manufacture everything in India. Maybe my view, right? Stuff like the manufacturing may not be a small player thing. It's a big player. I may say that Toyota cannot import any car to India. Either you manufacturing and sell it, or don't do it. Don't come. Don't you think that approach will like really like Apple, right? For a say, why the Apple has to the importers they have to, why we have to import the Apple phone to here, right? You could say that I'll not allow it. You could sell it, but you manufacture in India. Don't you think that approach is maybe a quick?
So I'm glad I live in India, not China. So I would rather have the other joys of living in a democracy where we can discuss this, rather than not. But after having said that, I think most of the auto companies, apart from the real high-end cars, are being manufactured in India. So, factually, a lot of it is being manufactured here. I think the real challenge is for, I see a huge potential that India is already a vibrant economy without supplying to the outside world. So if we can seize this opportunity and with the domestic market also become a good supplier of products, services, everything to the outside world. If you saw the percentages on the little presentation I did, we are not even 2 or 3% in any of the sectors that we touched upon in terms of percentage of export share in the global pie. So that is where the real opportunity lies, and we do not have to look at the vagaries of international politics to at least keep ourselves going. We have a market in-house to keep you sustained, and then the export market can help you conquer, as what Professor
It's a problem,
Shahadri
right?
said.
Suppose today everybody talk about, right? The electronics imports are going to be exceed oil imports by so and so date. But today the problem, right? If they do it in China, it's becoming cheaper for them, even after paying their import taxes also.
Let me respond on this. There are a couple of things that I thought it was little, we need to bring it back on the line. I was just reflecting on what I talked about, the global capacities that we have currently. I wanted it to be clear because he talked about batteries as one of the things in the discussion. While we have started a couple of decades ago, it was nothing close to where we are now. So this is something that I want it to be not missed in this discussion. You will start slow or very, very low, and probably get to a position enabled by few other things. Manufacturing, all said and done, is a cost driver in a normal product. And most often your idea is to manufacturing it efficiently and ensure that the conversion costs are at a stable level, manageable level. The second part of this China, a lot of the hype about China is thanks to the media now, or beyond that, most of us with heightened awareness levels. But China, as what we are talking about, either praising or eulogizing China now, has started in 1979. At that point in time, none of us even cared to know
But you
about
might have
it.
lost the journey, right?
Let me finish this. 1979 is when they have started, and the fruits of that effort is what we are now talking about at this scale. We need to start somewhere. Now, coming to your point of electronics, this is the reason why we are at the receiving end today. Granted, that's what electronics policy is saying about your, like your consumerism and the heightened, our enhanced awareness levels and improved affordability is going to kick in a huge consumption of electronic gadgets in this country, granted. And hence, we need an ecosystem to be able to manufacture them. The point of the matter today is somewhere you need to start. We can sit on the bylines, keep complaining till cows come home, saying that we are not going to be competitive, or we have to start what they've done in 1979. Right?
But that's the problem,
Shenzhen, as what we know, is a earmarked industrial manufacturing hub of China. The foundation stone for that was laid in 1979. That, unfortunately, for us, we didn't care to know, but the Chinese premier of that time knew it by visiting Singapore.
But it's the same story, right? After 20 years, when they are 20 years ahead and you are here, but my point, right? What I'm trying to say, I think we need a global partnership. The global players has to come and do it here, right? It's not like maybe the homegrown, the small things may not able to fulfill our dreams, right? It is like the problem is bigger. Like you cannot like do a small scale industries, a number of industries getting to do this manufacturing. We may not able to go today, right? A lot of things are produced in villages. They don't even know where to sell it. Like it's more than manufacturing. The biggest problem, you don't have this supply chain thing. If you really go and encourage these small players, but today, right? Like maybe like
that's it. I have again probably I'm suffering from a different view, but democracy allows us to continue to talk about it. 20 years ago, when I visited US first time, I was all over the floor, saying that am I going to see anything close to it in India before I die? Today, when I drive on the Golden Quadrilateral in India, and I do travel in US, I actually started thinking, is my fancy for US come down because I've come several times, or has really the US highway quality has gone down compared to what I'm seeing in India? So all I'm trying to say is, the infrastructure is improving. Maybe it is incremental level. It has to realistically have a step change going forward, and which is what I think the policy is enabling. We don't have all the funds that to be like in China. It's state-funded development model. At the global level, there is this raging debate saying whether this is good or bad. Allow me to finish this, please. And then if you were to look at in India, it's frugal and it's completely internal accrual money, mostly. And the point of this PPPs and booths and whatnot and everything else is going to see the infrastructure coming in faster than what we think it's going to be possible.